We go from one book, the one we've just seen, to the next that you're getting, and it's that one here I already showed you. We have the author of the book here as our next speaker, Carlos Moreira. Of course, you know him, internet pioneer, cybersecurity expert, and CEO and founder of WiseKey, Swiss company. He's doing my job in a way. I give the Sermon Summit in your hands. Please give a very warm welcome to Carlos, please.
Thank you. So thank you very much, and I think it's a great subject to connect from the previous speaker to what we are going to be covering now, which is, do we have as a human a future into what we call the fourth industrial revolution? So I am not a writer, I am CEO of a company which is listed on the Swiss stock market. Actually, this company is the outcome of 17 years career in the UN, where I wanted to do good, but in order to do good, you have to have the means to do good. So I have to raise something like $280 million to create a company, which is the company now is able to do good because the company have the mean and the resources to do so. But there is a fundamental problem. I am a member of the World Economic Forum. I was one of the experts that worked with the Global Council of the World Economic Forum to design the fourth industrial revolution, which we are entering now. And one of the things I realized on that work is that where is the human on it? And to be honest, there's a lot of excitement about human future. Everybody thinks that the entrepreneurs are going to be there and we're going to have social impact and we're going to solve the environment. But actually, it's not the case. We are, for the first time in history, of the 200,000 years the human has been on this earth, where we are going to be challenged. We just maybe disappear. And the forces are there for. I've been in Silicon Valley, I've been involved in many of the high-level discussion panels on artificial intelligence, and it's so scary what is happening. Why? Because the human is a liability now. So humans are becoming the endangered species. It's not the monkey or the gorilla or the rhino, it's actually us, because we are becoming a liability. And why we are a liability? Because we have a biological envelope. Because for us to learn is so difficult. Because for us to move to the other side of the table, I have to go one step after the other. So humans are progressing in a linear way. Technology is exponential. 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on. So technology exponential growth will be by far superior to whatever evolution of the human is going to go. So how we cope? Obviously, Silicon Valley, $10 trillion economy sitting on the top of the web, sees that as a huge opportunity to enhance the human, to provide the human things that we don't have. Actually, we are very good in many things, but we are bad in many essential things. For instance, learning. It takes very easy effort to talk to you guys and express what I have to say today, but it's so slow for us to learn. How long it takes to learn piano or to play music like Elizabeth did it today. How many years of training that requires? So this is too slow for machines. Machines cannot wait for humans to learn. So the danger is that machines will replace us in things that they will do much better. So in that dialogue, and after talking to MIT Media Lab, I went to the UN, I went to the Human Rights Council, I went to the Security Council, I went to TED. I mean, people that they know me, sees me travel around the world. I went to China, I want to talk to the Chinese government and say, I went to the Vatican. Actually, we're going to have later an amazing person from the Vatican, which is an AI expert. And the conclusion was that we have to put the human back to the center of gravity. So the internet is like a huge cosmos where things float around. So the center of gravity now, the internet, is actually owned by companies, what we call the GAFAs, Those companies are so powerful now that they are replacing governments. They are replacing anything that takes a decision of human. They have so much data that they are able to predict our future, or behavior, or emotion. They can manipulate those emotions. I'm sure many of you have been seeing Netflix movie on the big hack and how a company like Cambridge Analytica was able to put Trump in power. And not only Trump, and also put the ideas of British, then they have to access the European Union because they manipulate their emotion. They have so much data about us. They know everything. They know when we're going to get married. They know when we're going to divorce. They know where is our sexual orientations or religious orientations. And we are being inundated with fake news and deep fakes that they are able to change our behavior. So obviously, a human has the final say because we vote and there are human voting. But what about if that vote was manipulated by that? We take financial decisions decisions, we buy things. What about if those financial decisions has been manipulated by artificial intelligence? We also are in a situation where we are educating our kids. What about if our education we're going to give to our kids are based on those fake information that we receive? So things have to change. And to be honest, we are in climate change. We are about 5 years in what we're going to call irreversibility. If we don't solve it in 5 years, it's gone. We will be what singularity people in Silicon Valley say. They say, guys, the biological envelope is so cumbersome, it's so heavy. Let's transplant ourselves into a computer brain, and that computer brain will extract all your memories, so everything you did, the schools and everything, because when we think memories, when you think where you've been in your school, and you maybe figure your school, you don't really have a database in your brain with the pictures of your school. Those are signals, they are chemical signals that they are created at the moment that that question happens. Those chemical signals now can be transferred to computers, and computers can regenerate those signals. Obviously, the computer will then go to your school, take pictures of the school, and add it to those signals, so you could regenerate the entire life of a person into a computer. So the transhuman code and the word is actually challenging. It's reversing the logic, saying, okay, if this is where we go and we have a $10 trillion economy building on that, let's build companies that protect human. Let's invest in companies that they protect human. Let's consume products that they are human friendly. Let's choose universities that they empower the human behavior. Let's unleash the potential of human, because humans, we have been here for 200,000 years. And by the way, we are the most perfected technology yet. Our eyes are much better than any camera. Our ears are able to identify sounds that no speaker on earth will be able to do. The way our organisms recycle themselves, they are by far superior to any biological process. So how can we do it? How we can move from the wishful thinking to a very organized industry, which is now $10 trillion, moving to $100 trillion in 5 years, and to $1,000 trillion by the year 2060. How you fight against that? The only way is creating the awareness of the consumer. So the only weak point this company has, all of them depend on the consumers. If the consumers are not happy, and you see what happened with Facebook, once Facebook was attacked by the US Congress, they started to ask the right question, then they started to back off, because they realized that the consumers were getting like, okay, maybe I am the product of this platform, and maybe I should not be the product of that platform, I want to move it away. So that's the entire movement of the transhuman code. So we are bringing universities, governments. This is a totally non-for-profit activity. We are doing that through a foundation. Wisely doesn't make any money on that. But what we are creating is an environment where we want to empower the person and really want to enhance the human, because we're going to be enhanced. We have been enhanced all our lives. You guys think that you might not be technology, but you're all already cyborgs. All of you have a mobile phone, and all of you with that mobile phone are already connected to the digital world. So the moment you do that, the moment you have a mobile phone connected to the digital world, you are in the limit between human and cyber. And the other thing is going to happen is going to be accelerating that process. The mobile phone is going to get smaller. There's going to be potential implants, like Elon Musk launching a company where they can implant on your brain a chip that will learn faster than what you will be able to learn yourself. They will collect data. So what we are aiming on the book, and that's how we vectorize the book, is to say, okay, if we all agree that the humans is the most perfected technology on Earth, because the humans have things that computers will never have. We have emotions, for instance. One of the things in AI, and we run a lot of AI research and algorithms, AI blocks in emotion. When you explain AI what is crying, or what is love, or what is anger, or what is sensibility, AI doesn't know about it. AI gets kind of confused. It mimics. AI can start to cry, but cry because it's seeing you cry, so it mimic, but doesn't have the biological structure to feel those emotions that humans have. To the point that we are saying, are we going to educate our kids to do things that computer will be able to replicate because they're going to be much faster and smarter than we are? Obviously not. You're not going to teach your kid how to code. People are talking, entrepreneurs have to learn how to code. Forget about it. Computers will be able to auto-code themselves within 2 years. They're already the code of big platforms are not done by humans anymore. Are we going to give our kids a legal work? Forget about it. Legal is going to be totally digitalized, and blockchain technology through ledger technology is going to make the work of legal people totally obsolete. So where are we going to put our kids to learn? On things that they are related to emotions. So think jobs on earth. Their human emotion makes the difference. Treating a patient in a hospital, being friendly with a person when you're serving the coffee, being in a listen mode when somebody has a problem. Those are the jobs of the future, emotions. So my belief is, and I really 100% behind that notion, that maybe artificial intelligence will push us to become actually humans because we abandoned those things. In my career, when I started, having emotion was a weakness. If you have a man and cries in a movie, everybody say, what was going on with this guy? But actually, emotions are essential. They are undiscovered territories where the human jobs of the future will be. And we will have much more time for us. We're not going to need to work 8 hours a day. We might not even to work at all because in some models now we are reaching a point where we could eventually create enough wealth for the entire world. So we will have to use our time in a total different way. We will have to use our capabilities in ways than the computers. And then computers will become an enabler. Elizabeth, without this beautiful piano, could explain to us for 20 hours what music will be, and we will be there sitting and say, okay, great, but it takes her only 2 seconds, and she inspires us with the music. So she needs the piano. Without the piano, she cannot express herself. The same thing us as a human. Without the computers, we will not be able to express ourselves because computers are going to be there to help us to become a better human, enhance our capability without destroying our emotion. So what we are doing in order to make the, and thanks to Christopher, it's the 3rd year I'm here, and I love what he's doing. I think, and I've been all over those forums around the world, and I am a speaker in all of them. And the vision that he had to create a human-centric forum where people from all the different organizations, different countries, different professions can come here to express their humanity, their emotions, where those emotions come from life experience, for religious belief, whatever, but those emotions are the driver of all of discussion. You can be sure that this forum will become the most important forum of the future because no other forum is doing that, and the ones that they are doing something like that has already been compromised too far and too big by the lobbies, and they are making those forums non-emotional. So let's create an emotional society. So and as an emotional society, I have one area which is very deep in my work. I was as an expert at the United Nations for many years. I work in electronic commerce. Actually, I was sending data for free to Jack Ma. Jack Ma was my focal point in China, and Jack Ma made Alibaba, and now he's the richest man in China. So it shows how much data is available in Geneva, how you can monetize. But one of the problems I had been fighting for many years is anti-illicit trade. Wysky has held over 1 million watches in Switzerland not to be copied. We have helped the medical industry not to put technology on their products to not be counterfeited. We have been working on projects related to the dark web. The dark web moves now $2.2 trillion economy. So the bank account of the big guys are located in the dark web. I don't know if any of you have ever visited the dark web, but if you ever want to be really scared, you spend 1 hour in the dark web and you just write your name and you will see how much the dark web will know about you. Every time you lost your credit card, every time you lost your identity card, every time you lost a document, it's very likely that document is on the dark web. So that economy, which is an extraordinarily nefast economy, it is driven by mafias of the world. This is the bank account of the bad guys. This is where from they get the money to put child slavery, prostitution, all the problems that you're facing now in the society, which is the destroying the human dignity, is actually paid by this underground economy. So we launched last year an initiative here at the Zermatt Summit, which was a panel on illicit trade. We have worked a lot since 1 year. And again, that's another recommendation I give you guys, is that coming here, make commitments, and next year show that your commitment has advanced. Don't come in here only on listening mode, because nobody wants to listen anymore. We want action. And you know, I've been working with the Clinton Initiative for 10 years with President Clinton, and he had a very interesting say, you make a commitment, we evaluated that commitment, if you didn't perform, next year you're not invited. And actually, that was an excellent way to put process, because it's easy to talk, it's hard to deliver. So we did that. We put an amazing group of experts that they're going to meet now, working on illicit trade. We launched the Anti-Illicit Trade Declaration, which is going to be available for the companies that they are joining the panel to sign. We also put it on the internet so everybody can sign. You guys can sign. I can sign the book for free if you ask me. In exchange, that you sign the declaration. So the idea of this declaration is to bring more multinational. This year we have an amazing, I don't want to give any headlines. The panel will say news for you. This declaration is going to get much bigger. We are talking to pharmaceutical companies. We are talking to e-commerce companies like Alibaba, like Amazon, all of them to enter into this illicit trade declaration. This illicit trade declaration could be one of the landmark milestone achievement of the Surmont Summit. So without more, I just would like to bring this amazing panel here. We're going to debate. Sorry, I'm taking your moderation role, but I'm sure you will excuse me because the subject is very specialized. And we want to get as maximum as we can during the following minutes. So I invite the panel to join me now here. And I give a big hand to this panel because it's an amazing group of experts. David. That's it, maybe still there. It's here. Yeah, we have Frank as well. So just to give you an orientation, what an amazing panel here. We have a United Nations official, we have a priest, we have an expert in illicit trade for many years on the tobacco industry, and one of the best technology experts on how to bring illicit trade to the technology front. And we are going to debate all about the same subject, which is how to reduce illicit trade. So maybe just a very short introduction, who you are, what you do in your own organizations, and then we start the fire on the question and A.
Thank you, Carlos. Well, as you say, I work for the UN. For the better part of my professional life, I've been working for the UN, more specifically for an organization that is called UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. We are focused on developing countries. We're not an association of manufacturers to support the interests of manufacturers wherever they are located, but we're promoting industrial development for socio-economic good.
Thank you very much. Alvisa.
So thank you, Carlos, for the kind words, and thank you for the Zermatt Summit for inviting Philip Morris and myself. My name is Alvisa Giustiniani. I've been working for Philip Morris International for more than 20 years. So unlike the entrepreneurs that decided to leave at the multinational, I stayed on. Nobody is perfect. I'm Italian. I've been doing different jobs in Philip Morris over the last 20 plus years, and in the last 5 years, as Carlos mentioned, I'm responsible for the department that is fighting illicit trade worldwide. And that's why I think I'm here today.
So, I am Gianfranco Bassi, I'm professor, I'm a priest, and I am professor of philosophy of natural science at the Pontifical Lateran Universities, the University of the Holy See. But since my doctoral work, I worked in computer science and neural networks, and then I developed during all my life my research in the foundation of computer science, logic and computer science, and now also in quantum computing. And I am actually involved also with the National Research Council in Italy, with the development of the new architecture of optical quantum computer, with application also for quantum encryption for the customer, that is for the Internet of Things. And also I am involved in ethics in artificial intelligence, but I speak about this.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah. Thank you very much, Father. Yeah, David.
So I'm Dave Behrens. My day job is working in a company named Sucafina. We're a coffee trading company. vertically integrated. We have some farming and some roasting activities, but the majority of what we do is trading. Roughly about 1 out of every 20 cups of coffee go through our supply chain. During my nights, weekends, and the rest of free time, I've been working on a tech startup company, which is using blockchain and digital identity and cross-border payments in hopes of being able to connect farmers and consumers in a more tangible way within smallholder farmer commodities.
Thank you very much. So maybe I suggest that we start by defining the problem first, so we all understand what is the problem, and then we move a bit on the solution to that problem. So maybe, Alviso, because you have so much experience on illicit trade in a very sensitive area, which is the tobacco industry. What from where it came from, your passion to anti-illicit trade? What was the driver on that, and what is the problem we are facing here internationally?
Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, Philip Morris, you'd wonder why Philip Morris International, a company producing tobacco products and now new heated not burn products, why are we interested in fighting illicit in the first place? I think the reason is simple and it's twofold. The first is because illicit is bad for the business, and second is because it's the right thing to do. And so why is it bad for a business? Because the illicit cigarettes are basically taking away business to the legal business. It's sold to a legal company like Philip Morris. 1 out of 10 cigarettes, a bit similar to the figure that was shown on the pharma products, 1 out of 10 cigarettes smoked today is illicit. The OECD did a report a few years ago, and I think those are the figures that Carlos was referring to. The illicit, the counterfeit products are worldwide, so not only cigarettes, but all counterfeited products is around 2 to 3% of worldwide trade, so a big number. So the fight against illicit for Philip Morris, it makes business sense. A pack of cigarettes is expensive, but maybe many people don't know that 80%, give or take, is taxes, being it excise tax, being it the VAT, being import taxes. So while you pay a lot of money for the pack, most of it goes to governments. Now, if you're a illicit producer, what you do, you don't pay the taxes, and it's easier then to compete on the market. So that's the first reason. It's a huge problem for us from a business standpoint. But the second reason for me is even more important, is that to do the right thing. And what I mean by that is that illicit trade is not impacting only the businesses, but it's impacting society. So the government losing income due to less revenues, the legal business is losing jobs. So that is another issue. Illicit trade is fueling organized crime. So while we think that buying a pack of cigarettes illegally on the black market will save some money, actually it's fueling a chain of organized crime. And these organized crimes are businesses. They want to make money with a higher profit possible at the lowest risk. And they will trade in cigarettes, but they will trade in pharma products, they will trade in drugs, people, and you name it, because any product where they can make money. So it is impacting, and recently there was a study done by a company called NGO called Trace It, together with UNCTAD, which is a sister organization of the UN, responsible for trade and development. And this report was basically linking illicit trade, not only on cigarettes, but all illicit trade, with the Sustainable Development Goals, so the SDGs, clearly on a negative way. So linking that illicit trade was an impediment to each single SDG. So illicit trade was an impediment to each single SDG. So that is, I think, the second reason which in our company is becoming more and more prominent, is really to do the right thing for societies. And once again, that is where the sustainability comes back. Doing the right thing for society means doing the right thing for the consumers, and then clearly it's the right thing also for the corporation, because we, in Asia, have a kind of business, basically, we are the shareholders, but the main stakeholder in any company is the consumer. So there where it all comes back.
Thank you, Richard. Frank, on moving to the international organizations, one of the major roles of the international organization is to create awareness with their focal points, which are governments, right? And UNIDO is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. So industrial development is becoming ever more needed, because that's what it's all about the fourth industrial revolution, right? How you can build a sustainable development and how you can ensure that everybody can participate and not only a group of countries can benefit of. Well, one of the things that Davos has been pretty upsetting the last year is that they say the technology revolution that we started 30 years ago. There was a meeting in Geneva with Tim Berners-Lee, which he was nearly crying by saying, I am so disappointed with what the web has become, because only about 1% of the people got anything back. The other 99%, they absorbed the entire wealth creation of the web. That's why you have so many billionaires made on technology. So that was a fiasco, basically, because you don't develop a technology platform with the objective to have 99% of the wealth in the hands of 1% of the people. So as an international organization expanding industrial development, what are your drivers? What keeps you busy? And what is the advice that you give to all of us in order to expand or reach into developing countries?
Well, thank you very much, Carlos, and I'm happy to say that I'm happy to hear that you stress the importance of industrial development. For the longest time, this has been not recognized, not sufficiently recognized for a variety of largely ideological reasons. I believe that the performance of socioeconomic performance of China, the track record, lifting millions of people out of poverty, on the environmental front, it has been less successful, but certainly in terms of inclusivity, this is certainly an example. And it has triggered the attention of particularly lower income countries, African countries, notably, least developed countries. And as you might well be aware, this is top of the agenda. Listen to any African political gathering, business people as well. Industrial development is one of the top priorities. African Development Bank ranks it among the 5 top priorities. So it is important politically. We need to create jobs. Earlier on, there was reference to migration. Well, I'm not saying that the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector, when we speak about industrial development, it's largely manufacturing industry, that the jobs will come solely from there, but it's a crucial piece of the puzzle. The connection, intersectoral production linkages, the connection that manufacturing industry has with agriculture, with services, very important. So we see this as a crucial piece of the puzzle, and if Africa in particular, and LDC countries, do not industrialize or do not increase their share of manufacturing value added over the next 10 years, there might be a serious problem. You were referring to 5 years, but 10 years to build technological capabilities, because much of the technological capabilities at lower levels of income will have to be developed through manufacturing production. So this is key, and this is an effort that we are supporting together with UNCTAD and many other agencies, WHO when it comes to pharmaceuticals, UNAIDS as well when it comes to pharmaceutical production, FAO when it comes to agricultural, agri-food, and the illicit trade is an important element in this. We are in principle very committed to reducing the negative effects of industrial trade, of illicit trade, because precisely it crowds out legitimate, in our case, manufacturing.
I think, I've been working in many of the international organizations, and I think the UN now is in a unique position to really influence the way the world is going to be in the future. The Sustainable Development Goals is one of it, but also at the intra-agency level, because, for instance, in your case, you need to industrial, as you say, industrial now, it's key, because we are not going to have a fifth industrial revolution if we don't solve the fourth industrial revolution we are entering, right? So your mandate is so powerful. It's like ITU, for instance, that so many years they were trying to figure out where they sit, and now they have a very clear mandate on the internet, right? The regulation of the internet. So I think the UN agencies have an amazing role, especially if you continue partnership with the private sector. So maybe, because we're going to move now into the technology, any questions or any clarifications on the subject has been covered now. I prefer to have a Q&A at this point rather to accumulate a lot of notions. If you have anything, the floor is yours. We are talking now about illicit trade, about the problem, about the solutions, about the role of international organizations, about how this could be disrupted by the proper cooperation. Okay? Okay. So we move to a more deep dive on technology now. And I want to express my amaze with Father Gianfranco. I met him in the Vatican because Weisky did the launch of the Transhuman Code in the Vatican in an event organized with the Humanity 2.0, which is a very interesting group that has been discussing with CEOs around the world about the influence of this disruption that is happening in technology vis-a-vis the humans and how we can educate the humans so we can continue to be human. So he was a speaker, and when he started to talk about artificial intelligence, quantum technology, I say, wow, I mean, this is a priest that give a mass in the morning, as we were this morning with him, and then is an expert on quantum physics with a philosophical. And now I learned something from him, which is unique. He told me the fact that the humans have lost the connection with philosophy is putting us in a dangerous situation, because everything that has been done before in technology, philosophy was a major driver for mathematics, was a major driver for engineering, and suddenly AI is getting outside that connection. So maybe can you elaborate on that bridge between philosophy, technology, and what you explained me this morning about the synergies between quantum and the creation of the world, the genesis. If you don't mind to spend a few minutes on that, I think everybody's going to be blown away with that. So please, Father.
So it's possible to show the PowerPoint. So sorry.
Yeah, sure.
There is the pointer. Yeah.
You have it already. If you want to go to the floor, okay. Please.
So it's better. So I can, yes. Okay, this is an application, okay? Then we speak about this. This is my research area at the Lateran University. This is, the name is Prometheus, is a startup company in the Institute for Microelectronics and Microsystems in the Italian Research Council. And so, so that we have all the labs there, also a linear accelerator for the deposition of molecules of our substrates. So we have everything there. And so, no, pay attention. For the first question, that is how to relate philosophy with artificial intelligence. I organized for the next October here. You have also the possibility to connect. I am one of the co-organizers of the European Computer Science Society Summit of the 2019. And so my struggle about this is this. You know, probably an interview of Smith, the CEO of Microsoft, who said that the true challenge in AI now is not what computer can do, but what computer must do. And for this, there is the possibility for philosophers, lawyers, and even theologians. But the problem is that, you know probably that there is in Europe this law for computational thinking from kindergarten to high school, no? But the only place in which computer science is not taught is in the philosophy and law departments. So how is it possible? Because if you go in a scientific department, you learn computer science. The only two places in all the academy in which computer science is not taught is the Department of Philosophy and Computer Science. So how is it possible to win the challenge of ethics in artificial intelligence? And so we give the ethics only to, with all my respect, to the computer engineering. So they are not expert in this. So it's necessary that philosophers and computer science, philosophers, computer science and lawyers work together, sharing the same expertise, okay? And so, which is the link about this that is the scientific disciplines and humanistic disciplines. It's a new discipline now. It's just published on Springer in textbooks, collection of Springer. The introduction of formal philosophy. Which is formal philosophy? Formal philosophy is to use a symbolic logic, axiomatic method for formalizing. Is already applied since Frege and since Riemann to mathematical science, the axiomatic method. But the problem is to apply the axiomatic method also to philosophy, to humanistic discipline, and also to use the proper logic. Is not mathematical logic, of course, otherwise you stay in the neo-positivism approach, but the modal logic. Formal logic, modal logic can be formalized. It can be implemented also in computers, so that we can insert ethical algorithms in autonomous system overall. Before all, autonomous system, because they take decision, and they must take decision not only for maximizing, for instance, the profit. I think to automatic trading online. I participated in inventing trading online because when I was a consultant of the Bank of Italy, we invented the method before the crisis of 2008 of making neural nets for prevision. We have to deal with the exchange between yen and dollars, because our debts in Italy is in dollars, but our reserve are in yen. So if you change at the right moment between yen and dollars, you save a lot of money. and so we had a beautiful group of people working with the Italian Office of Exchange on this problem, and we invented a very effective method with a very small neural nets, learning from the first 3 steps. You know that Bloomberg every 10 seconds, no? So before we study 4 years of this exchange, imagine how many data. And then we realized that there is no correlation. For this reason, neural networks cannot work this. But then we discovered that effectively the value fills the last 3 bits from Bloomberg. So that we make practically a neural net in continuous learning. It works. It worked. Worked so well that now Standard & Poor's, because then for some strange, we don't apply in this for Italian government, but I was invited in the World Bank to explain with wow, all the people, yes, this is the right neural nets for. And then I rediscovered that in 2000, after the crisis of 2008, Standard & Poor's applied this for recovery in 1 year all the loss, using a farm of computers working in this with this algorithm. There was a scandal, but now you have 43% of the transactions are made in this way.
Father, if you don't mind, because we would like to maintain the interaction.
Yes.
Let's go to the panel, and after
yes.
I bring you back again on quantum, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because I want to keep these guys, otherwise they're going to forget what they have to say.
Let's keep going.
But what I think is phenomenal on this, which is after so many meeting with AI experts, I learned that this was not connected with philosophy, which philosophy we can consider an emotion, right? Emotional thinking, because philosophy is very emotional. And philosophers before were viewed as something that doesn't bring any value. And maybe because we disconnect philosophy from AI, we are facing so many problems on AI, what we call AI bias, and the fact that he said the AI's algorithms now, they are programmed by a bunch of young kids in Silicon Valley. I mean, the entire AI world is maybe programmed for 100,000 engineers. So 100,000 engineers, we have some of them, they have too young to even have any moral values. They are dictating the way we drive our cars, the way we do everything in life, right? So bringing that connection back has a huge, phenomenal disruption capability. So if you don't mind, we're going to move now to Sucafina. Sucafina is a trading company in Geneva, family company from many
40 years.
Yes, and an amazing traders in coffee. And David is a technology focused person, so we have been brainstorming on how to empower farmers, because in the supply chain process on coffee, when you go to Starbucks and you buy macchiato, whatever, with $7 the macchiato, and you realize that the farmer that has contributed to that coffee bean only makes 10 cents, you should be feeling guilty. And actually, we all feel guilty, but nobody has really the capability, the technical capability of not feeling guilty by just providing to that farmer a piece of that $7. I mean, I'm sure if I will know where is the farmer, I could have a picture of it and geolocation. The speaker before mentioned about the address of it, because it has geolocation. If I have that information, I should be able to just plug and send a few dollars. So that's what they have done, and I let you develop from there on.
Okay, great, thank you. So within the coffee industry, I think it has to start with the farmer. At the end of the day, if there's not economic viability for farming, we can't ask farmers to be taking care of the environment, to be taking care of social. The farmer has to first feed their family. If they can't feed their family, they can't send their kids to school. And so we need to think about that economic viability, and I wish it was 10 cents that they would receive out of a cup of coffee. In reality, it's more like 3 to 5 cents. So it's a very small portion of the pie. And I think that what I've learned in 20 years of coffee trading is there's always a debate. Do roasters make too much money, roasters and retailers? Do farmers not make enough? And it's a debate that's gone on for probably the last 100 years and would continue to go on. So our approach has been a little bit different. We think that the future of coffee is traceability.
Yeah.
It's really in knowing where the coffee is coming from. And of course, in specialty coffee and some of the unique communities on small scale, it's very easy to have traceability. You could go to a very specific farm, you can buy coffee from that farm, and you can transport it. But when you start talking about scaling, global scaling, it becomes very complex. To give you an idea, Sucafina is the leading exporter of coffee out of Rwanda, and one container of coffee that we might ship out of Rwanda could have been contributed by up to 4,000 farmers. So it becomes very complex because you're taking different batches of coffee and you're having to put them together. So every time you take batch A that came from 100 farms and batch B that comes from 100 farms and put them together, you're creating a new output that could have been contributed by 200 farms. So it's been something that's been quite difficult, but we've spent a lot of effort and time working on. And we started with an idea, it became a business plan, and then ultimately it became a standalone company. It's named Farmer Connect. It's actually going to be launched on Wednesday, so hopefully you guys will be able to see a headline somewhere in the world and go, oh yeah, that was that one of those coffee guys at the conference. Because this is a coffee conference. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. We've kind of snuck up on you, but we're pesky like that. So we started and we said it has to start with the farm. So when you speak to farmers, they say economic viability, of course, but then they have two other concerns. They say differentiation.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to a farmer and they're like, I take care of my wastewater. I take care of the people that pick the coffee. Yeah. I do all the right things, all the environmental things. My neighbor doesn't do any of them. Yeah. Yet when we go to market, my coffee gets sold for the exact same price as my neighbor. So why am I doing that? I mean, they know why they're doing it. It's because of their own moral integrity, but there's not been a way to differentiate. The second thing is that we oftentimes tell them, you should raise your productivity levels. You should produce better quality coffee, and we do good agriculture practices to help them do that. They do all the work, 9 months of labor, the coffee leaves the farm, and they never hear from it again. Yeah. Did people care? Do people like it? Did it matter? So those are some of the issues we're tackling. So the first thing we're starting with is digital identity, farmer-owned digital identity. It gives the farmer the capacity to have a digital CV, and when they do good agriculture practices, when they win awards, when they do environmental work, when they do sustainability work, it's now going to be a digital certificate that goes under that farm's identity. and it gives a chance for differentiation of product.
Which everybody will need, because a digital identity is what Facebook does with your wall. You have actually a digital identity, but it's owned by Facebook. And Facebook monetizes that digital identity between $250 and $400 per year. So that's how much you're worth as a product. So imagine that digital identity is on control of the farmer. The farmer could sell that identity under his consent to anybody that they will be interested to do deals with the farmer or to geolocate the farmer. But it's the farmer that decides when to give that consent, and it's the farmer that gets the benefit of that consent. So this is the consent economy.
Thank you for adding that. That's very important. And it's good to have that clear, that the business model of Farmer Connect is not to monetize data.
Yes.
That's not what we want to do. So we want to be GDPR plus.
Yeah.
You know, we want to give the farmer an identity that they own that I don't even have today.
Yeah.
The second part of the application is allowing farmers to confirm transactions. So today, when a trader buys coffee from a farmer, we might record in our handheld their name, how much we paid them, and then we make sustainability reports that say we're good people, we pay good prices. But with the farmer, we just have a paper receipt.
Yeah.
They sign it, we keep it. If somebody wants to audit us, we have to pull out those 2,000 paper receipts to prove that we paid that price. But by digitalizing the supply chain, the digitalization in and of itself is not so special, but it's the verification of digital data that becomes really powerful. So now, imagine a farmer being able to confirm, I did receive that fair price. I did sell that quantity, and that becomes the beginning of our trace. So from there, we have a traceability platform that tracks where the coffee's gone, how it's been transformed, and when it's occurred. And that traceability platform also embeds pricing data.
Yeah.
So you're able to track the price that's been paid across the supply chain. All that data then can be facing the consumer. We have a consumer-facing app called Thank My Farmer, where consumers actually via QR code or a barcode or any way would be able to pull that data onto a handheld, be able to pull up an interactive map that's pulling the data from the blockchain to be able to understand where that coffee's journey has gone, and also be able to see sustainability projects that are linked to it. And they're able to learn about those projects, share those projects, and even contribute directly to those projects.
How big is the coffee economy from your...
So the green coffee that we purchase is $20 billion. Consumers spend $200 billion buying it. Yet the 20 billion are trying to solve all the problems of sustainability.
How much the farmers are getting now today?
Out of the 20 billion, maybe half of that, 10 billion. So our view is, rather than fight over the 200 billion, why don't we grow the pie from 200 to 220 billion,
Yes.
but in a way that consumers are directly able to contribute back to the beginning part of that chain.
And the beauty of that model is that a farmer identity is not only a farmer identity, it's identity of the person, which is farmer. So that identity is also good for medical services, because we have a project actually in India with fertilizer farmers. Then they use the fertilizer to fertilize the land. And it's the same thinking. Once you have an identity, then the farmer exists. You know, the digital identity is part of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, because currently 1.2 billion people on Earth do not have even a legal identity. They just don't exist. So if a person doesn't exist, how are you going to help that person? How are you going to bring help to that person, or subsidies, or anything that you want to? So and that's why identity has become one of the major SDG priorities, because without solving the problem of identity, it's very hard to solve the other problems. Yeah.
Yeah, in Africa, what we see is that most farmers don't have bank accounts.
Yeah.
They're not bankable. They don't have access to microcredit because they don't have credit history.
Yeah.
So suddenly, if you empower them to be able to confirm transactions and confirm income received,
Yeah.
now you're building credit history.
Yeah.
And via that credit history, we trust there's lots of other young, smart entrepreneurs, hopefully many of them in the emerging market and world, that will build on top of this application.
Yeah, actually, here
and
in
then
the room,
provide
you have
those services to them.
coffee machine. We are drinking coffee,
Absolutely.
which sits perfectly on the top of what you're trying to
Absolutely.
deploy.
So we just view it as a platform that other entrepreneurs are going to be able
Yeah.
to build on top of. It's an inclusive agenda. So
What I like in your case, the same case of PMI, is that you see organizations, and they are very large. I mean, PMI is a huge company, one of the largest employers in Switzerland, and they are redesigning themselves towards the user, the consumer. And this was not there before. One of the failures of the UN, and I include myself because I was there at that time, is that we were totally disintermediated with the end user. You know, we were always talking at the institutional level. So we all agree among ourselves, but we didn't have the last mile, which was what it was required to reduce poverty or to increase the well-being of 6 billion people on Earth. This new concept of platform, it's actually powerful, because once you have a platform, you can connect so many things. The platform should be open source. You should give away your software so people adopt. So that's the new spirit, right? Where you get inclusion rather than exclusion. So maybe on that, and again, my job here is also to establish relations, because that's what I think we're going to be very successful on this. Who says he's a farmer of coffee can be a farmer of tobacco, right? Or so what are you doing for farmers, and how that could fit?
Listen to what you were saying. I can relate to tobacco in the same way. You have so many small tobacco producers, which are maybe less than half an hectare, or even really small parts. And it's difficult then to be able to track the tobacco. And we have the same issues because the traceability of the tobacco, making sure especially there is no child labor, is something we take very seriously. But it is not that easy, because just how the environment is scattered. But I think what we're doing in many markets in Pakistan, for example, so you also consider that they're difficult markets to work in. It's not like working in Switzerland or working in France. In Europe, the markets which are difficult just for the conditions. But I do believe that, and now maybe I'm saying something which the first panel this morning on entrepreneurs, saying that the world is going to be changed by small companies, entrepreneurs, and so on. I do think that the big corporations have a role to play as well.
Sure.
It's more difficult for a corporation like Philip Morris, like a multinational company, to change simply because we already have structure. There's clearly the pressure from the stock exchange, and we are a big corporation with 70, 80,000 people, so before changing it does take more time. But what changes the world and what makes the change is not the company, it's the people. And you find the people in the small entrepreneurial companies, the SMEs, and in the big corporation. It just takes longer. But it's the people that make the change. It's not it is not the company. But technology, I do think, is helping a lot for increasing transparency, in making the consumer having a much stronger voice. Because at the end of the day, politicians, corporations, companies listen to the end consumers, because those are the ones that buy the product, and if they don't buy it anymore, you have a problem. So I think the technology is helping a lot. Even in the tobacco, when I was here last year, I think I mentioned that the European Union was going to introduce at that time, and now it's been introduced as of May of this year, a full traceability of each single pack of cigarettes from the producer down to the point of sale. So each pack of cigarettes now is tracked up to the point of sale. I'm not talking about the bundle or the shipping case, in each pack of cigarettes. For the smokers in this room, if you turn around your pack, at the bottom of your pack, you'll find a little code, which maybe you're thinking what it is. It's not the barcode. The barcode, I think we're all familiar with it, that a stock management code, which all products have in order to keep the stock management in the supply chain. This is a unique code for each pack. So you can trace back each single pack that is being produced by one company, sold to that distributor, to that wholesaler, down to that point of sale. And then, of course, you have apps that you can read that code, and it gives you all the traceability, which goes in line on the transparency I was making. So I see very, very similarity with the coffee. Maybe the drivers may be different. In the tobacco, clearly there's a big component of illicit trade, but there are a lot of similarity from the producers up to the consumers.
At the end of the day, and this is my vision when I created Wise Key, I say, who cares who's behind? I want to have a direct relation between the farmer and the consumer. The rest is the back end. It's like trying to understand how a mainframe works. What you want is to see the efficiency. Now it's totally inefficient for the reason we have seen. I mean, farmers and consumers are not in contact, and this is what gives the possibility of the backend to exploit the farmer, because there's no accountability. The moment you create a peer-to-peer society, which now we can with blockchain technology, decentralization of ledgers, the possibility of moving data from silos so everybody can share, we're going to be in an unprecedented wealth creation era where people are going to be able to exchange services to the point, that there's a very extreme thinking in Davos that say, you're not going to be even an entrepreneur in 5 years' time. You're going to be a company. Every single human will be its own company. So you will be a legal entity through your digital identity, and you can sell your knowledge. If you are a good writer, you write books and you sell to 6 billion people. If you are a good engineer, you're going to be able. You don't need a boss. You don't need somebody sitting on you. You will need big corporations that they act as a platforms, like planes need airports, because they have to stop, fill, and go back again. But the role of a plane is to be in the air. But obviously, it has to stop sometimes into the airport. The same thing for this concept of every person is a company. If you are your own company, you can then go and plug into the platform to get funding, to sell product. But once this is done, then you go back again and fly. You don't have to have the heaviness of creating a company. When I created WireSki, I left the UN, and I put what I need to invest, and I discovered I need $100 million just to start the company, which I raised. And it was amazing work, but I have to raise, and this took me 80% of my time. In our days, a young kid doing the same company will have to invest 100,000. And in 10 years' time, there will be maybe 5,000, and so on. And to the point that one day will be nearly for free. Why? Because you have cloud system online, you can put your data on cloud, you can get open source software. So we are in a society where the young generation, the millennials, they have amazing tools in their hands. And this is where I am coming from the side of hope. With those tools, if they use them properly with the enthusiasm and aggressiveness that an entrepreneur has, they will solve major world problems that in our generation we were not able to solve. So Father, I asked Father Nicola, when I read the book, I asked him a question, and he helped me a lot on that answer, which is, what is soul? What is the soul in AI? How AI reads a soul, of human soul? And you give me this morning some ideas on quantum. I'm going to ask you that question again to you, because this is this is a question, it's a $1 billion question that nobody has ever been able to answer properly. And every time I talk to engineers around the world, I say, okay, you can replace the human, but what about the soul of the human? How is that reflected in technology?
Okay, the problem is that we have to overcome the dualistic interpretation of soul and body, of mind and body, because this is against, apart against truth, but is against the fundamental laws of physics, because if you imagine that your soul, when I move my arm, is interacting, exchanging energy, moving particles, moving electrons, or bodily spirits, according to Descartes, you are violating the first principle of thermodynamics, the energy balance. So it's not this the explanation. The explanation can be only the Aristotelian approach or Aquinas approach, that soul is the organizing principle, the ordering principle of the movements of the body. For this reason, it's necessary to recover the notion of information, that is the physical basis of information. Pay attention. We know information theory from communication engineering is an entropy, is Shannon entropy and so on. The problem is, which is the foundation of information in physics, in quantum physics, because you know that there is an interpretation of quantum physics, is the informational approach to quantum physics, because information is an immaterial physical magnitude. I repeat, immaterial physical magnitude, because it's related with the notion I wanted to explain, but we don't have time probably, of quantum vacuum. What is quantum vacuum? Quantum vacuum is the continuum of the quantum fields at their ground state. Pay attention, ground state doesn't mean the absolute zero, the equilibrium, okay? Because you cannot reach the absolute zero by the third principle of thermodynamics. So that the quantum vacuum has a temperature that is higher than zero, okay? So you can imagine the quantum vacuum because the quantum vacuum is everywhere in the organization of matter. Is also, for instance, when you are dealing with a ferromagnetic phase, that is, you change from the non-ferromagnetic to the ferromagnetic phase of metals. Well, what happens? It happens that in the quantum vacuum situation, the fields are, and the vectors of magnetization of the quantum fields are orientating in all the direction. This is a condition of symmetry. Is a disorder, but is symmetry. Pay attention. This is a contradiction about the notion of order and disorder, because if we speak about the geometrical ordering, you know that the geometrical space is isotropic. That is, all the directions in the geometrical space are equivalent. So, if you have that the vector of magnetization is an example of quantum vacuum, are pointing in whichever direction in the three-dimensional space, this is a disordered situation, not an ordered situation. Because is, in fact, you know that chance and necessity are two are two faces of the same problem, because in geometry it's the same. Chance means without a goal, no? Because it's a chance. But when you have a goal, you have a direction to point. Okay? So, the fundamental mechanism in quantum field theory is the spontaneous breaking of symmetry. The spontaneous breaking of symmetry happens when all the particles, all the molecules in this day, or atoms, are the vectorization in one only direction. And this happens for long-range correlations happen at the quantum level. And these long-range correlations, if quantized, are Nambu-Goldstone bosons. Okay? In the case of magnetization phenomena, magnons are named. Or in the name of oscillation of elastic oscillation, mechanical oscillation of molecules are phonons, probably. A condition of quantum vacuum is like an orchestra when all the people are tuning their instrument, and so it's a cacophony, no phase coherence. But when the director stick, so they go in phase, okay? They go in phase, and there is an ordering. So this ordering is a physical magnitude. If you see at the quantum field theory equations, you have that these bosons are not quanta of matter, not quanta of energy, are not fermions, electrons, are not quanta of energy, photons, gluons, okay? That is the quanta of the interaction field. But a quanta of the coherent modes of being in phase of quantum fields. Okay? These are quanta of ordering. And because it's an ordering, is a logic. Because the ordering relation is the basis of semantics, very roughly. If I say P implies Q, okay, if P then Q, when it is true? It's true when the set Q includes the subset P. So there is an ordering, you know? And this ordering relation is logic, is already in quantum physics. Because in quantum physics, we have this long correlation wave that are a sort of an implementation in modern physics of the notion of formal causality.
So, Father,
I finish. This happens. This happens also in our brain.
We're in a quantum.
Okay, these are also in our brain. That is, you can study from the standpoint of quantum field theory our brain, and you find that this quantum correlation concern the dipoles, electrical fields characterizing water, because remember that life, biological molecules are active only in water. Okay? So, and then all the organic matters. So, if you go in phase with these fields, you have a chemical reaction typical of biochemistry. And what is soul? Soul is this. Because, soul is this. No, it seems strange because we are acquainted to think of soul like a ghosting machine. No, please. It's an ordering relation. An ordering relation involving think an intentional movement, okay? Intentional movement means that you are connecting, you are synchronizing in some way. Neurons of the amygdala, you know, in limbic system. Neurons of the sensory cortex. Neurons of the associative cortex. Neurons of the motor cortex. All in phase. There are millions of synapses far. Each synapse reacts in 75 milliseconds, that is 1/10 of a second. If the connection is through synapses, how many months is necessary? Please make the multiplication. This is science, please. Okay? But this is a phase, this is a quantum entanglement. Okay? But quantum entanglement doesn't concern only inside the brain. For instance, quantum entanglement is the basis.
Father, 1 minute, because
Okay, sorry. only another minute. Is requiring also because we see in the optical part of the electromagnetic spectrum and the whole in the infrared, because we are in phase with these frequencies. The whole is in frequency with the infrared. And so now we are working in another project about the pathological pain. And one of the problems is to study this phenomenon for which we have already a lot of evidence, but we have to study that when there is emotional feeling between two persons, I have also the slides, but I have time. Some parts of their brains are in phase. And what is the relation with God? Is this a relationship? Okay, remember that in the Bible, you have that what is the spirit? The spirit is not the air, is the breath. Okay? So you have a kiss of life. This is reanimation, okay, in English. A kiss of life between God and the puppet of argilla, of earth. And so this is this relationship, and this is an ordering relation. That is, of course, this is for the believer. And for the creation, remember that probably you know that there is a lot of books interpreting creation with the phase coherence organization of the quantum vacuum. Okay, Kramer, also the last book of Hawking and so on. So the problem is that in the Bible there is, because okay, in this way you create organization from matter, no? And so this is creation, order from chaos. But pay attention, in the Bible, in the first two verses of the Bible, is God created heaven and earth. And the earth was a informed void. But the breath, not the spirit, the breath of God is over the water of the abyss. That is, the water of the abyss is oscillating, is a waving water, living water. And this is before time. Okay? Before time. Because the time is when you break the symmetry in the abyss. Yes. First day, separation of light from darkness without firmament. Second day, separation of the lower water, upper water by the firmament, and so on. So that, what is the creation? The creation is God, that also the quantum vacuum or the first matter of is created by God, depends on God, and not in time, from eternity.
Yes. Father, let's stay there in eternity.
Okay.
I really thank you for what you had just said, because the subject is so complex. And again, whether you're a believer or not believer, or you are a physician or not, a computer person, this is a fundamental question. And one of the things that we are reaching conclusion for the very big experts on quantum is that maybe quantum will be a way to explain God, as simple as that, in the future. So I really thank you for that. I think I would love to continue talking to you and AI your brain on it.
No, it's nice to see how it works with quantum computing.
Exactly. And next year we'll bring a demo on how that works. Okay, deal?
Yes.
Deal.
Okay.
Okay, so because we are running, we only have 42 seconds left. So I would like now to move to the signing of the declaration. So we have done a declaration. You guys can sign in the wall there. You also have a link on the website of Sir Matt Summit where you can go and sign. And again, this is non-binding. This is only an intention to work together towards putting, with the help of multinationals and organizations that they have the firepower to make it happen, to reduce this $2.3 trillion economy, which we believe with the help of goodwill, technology, and perseverance, we can reduce drastically for the future of our kids. Because the worst case scenario is that we lose that battle, and then people will make more money on the illicit trade than they will make on the illicit trade. So we are going to move now there. We're going to be signing the declaration. We'd like to, if you guys want to join us before the next panel, I don't think you have the time. I would like just to thank the panel for their support. It's amazing people, amazing commitment. Individually, each of you, also thank you for your patience and participation. And if you have any question to us, please, you're free to do it. Thank you very much, and thank you for the time. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to? Yes. Hi. No, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Seriously, appreciate it.
But he has asked me in the conversation.
So, yes, nothing changed.
Right or left? Go
go this way?
Yeah.
All right.
Who's outside? Go this way.
Yeah, we just.
Sure.
Switch around in some way.
Yeah, no worries. We'll figure it out.
Oh, very good. I think the farmer got is it just a quantum alignment?
Yes. Maybe keep it on your.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
we should keep it on the map. Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. But there's missing 10 cents. I don't know if it's
This one? Refresher.
Yeah, it's
Physics. That's it.
Final.
Never been discussed.
okay. Design. So keep that coming up.
Guys, very good. So, this is also completed.
Perfect.
So let's stand up each of us with our declaration.
One is for you. There's one original for you. Thank you very much. We just put it like that.
Oh, we just should do the signature.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you very much. Merci.
Step ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a nice evening. See you.